Hello and welcome. It's Bullock's Business Banter, 5th of March. It's Friday. The weekend is here. I don't sound it in my voice though, do I? Well, because I've had the vaccine this week and I've been very ill. Just to let you know. Anyway, let's do the headlines. So, nurses prepare for strike over 1% NHS pay rise. A union calls the proposed increase pitiful after COVID, but ministers say money is tight. Asthma patients being told to wait for COVID jabs. Some are not being prioritised if they haven't been to hospital recently for the condition. Cyprus to welcome vaccinated UK tourists from May. It is not yet clear how visitors will be required to prove they have received the jab, but they are going to be welcomed with open arms. Pope arrives in Iraq amid virus and security risks. Pope Francis arrives in Baghdad for his first international trip since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Let's see who we have in. We've just got one in at the moment. Where are you? Oh,
where am I?
Where are you? Are you in the back in the tower?
I'm in the tower.
Oh,
dun, dun, dun.
Right. So, what floor are you on there? Are you back in where you were before?
21st floor. Yeah. So I'll draw the blinds because otherwise it gets a bit glary.
Yeah. But it's
nice views of Birmingham.
That's what I was about to say. That every time I visit there, the views from that building are just astonishing. And it doesn't matter how. I mean, I've lived here all my life. When you look out, you just see stuff all the time, doesn't it? I mean, it is phenomenal. But I'm glad you're back there.
I was quite pleased today because I only just noticed that from the window I can actually see one of the twin towers of Tolkien fame.
Really?
Yes. So
which one?
It's the university one.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So if anybody's, you need to elaborate now because
people
will be asking how.
The second book of Lord of the Rings is called The Two Towers, because Tolkien was a Birmingham guy, he actually based the idea on there's two towers. There's the university tower, and then there's another tower the other side of Birmingham that inspired him to write, about the towers in Middle Earth. So and I can see one of the towers from here, which is pretty cool.
That's phenomenal. You always forget that. Sorry, Mark, what are you saying?
Is that Highgate, Brett? Is that where you're referring to, Edgbaston?
No, there's one at university. So it's in the central courtyard of Birmingham University. It's a huge tower. Beautiful clock tower.
Yeah, the clock tower. No way.
Yeah.
You can do that. Yeah.
And there's and down the road from us, down the Stratford Road, there's a place there, which is Mill. What's the place in
Sarehole Mill?
Sarehole Mill, because he based where the hobbits live in that area, didn't he?
Yeah, so Middle Earth. Sarehole Mill is where he lived. So he lived in Moseley, just on the edge of Moseley, Sarehole Mill, and it's like a marsh and a sort of, there's an old mill there. It's really well preserved and stuff.
The mill's beautiful.
Used to take the kids there a lot when they were little.
Yeah. Had plenty of visits there. Hello, Darren. How are you?
Hi. Sorry, I'm late. Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Rushing around as usual. I've no idea what you're talking about. The Hobbit or the writers. I know Birmingham University quite well. I put lifts in at Muirhead Tower. But yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about the twin towers from Lord of the Rings. So the second book, and because where Grant's moving he's not moving to new offices. They are obviously new, but they're not to him because he moved out of Alpha Tower, and now he's back in. Have you physically moved back in yet, or are you just there? You're actually back in?
Yeah, in the office. We're all sorted. A few boxes everywhere, but we're in.
Did they give you a better deal?
I got a parking space.
Oh, okay.
That was it.
Nailed it.
Space. Well, I got two parking spaces in fact.
The last couple of weeks, and I thought, I'll see Grant, and I'm like, where's he gone? He's obviously left.
Sorry, mate.
He snuck out. That's the thing.
What floor are you on, Grant? How high up are you? Because I bet there's some
21st.
great views. Oh, nice. Some great views then across Birmingham.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, let's give you a quick show, not really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Grant was he's frozen
Good
now.
manners to
I'm gonna say,
give you a little.
the internet coverage isn't so good there, but looks a bit.
Is it working?
No, you're
yeah,
frozen.
you should
So
have
you
frozen.
should just be able to
That's
see
a print screen.
the
if you
tower
can,
poking
there
over
you
the top.
Okay, there we go. Look, yeah,
Let's have a
showing off.
look. That's nice.
And there's the. And then
Why does that look
conditioning
black
unit.
and white? Oh, there's a bit of colour there. Sorry. It looks
Dorset
black
in
and
it.
white, that didn't it?
So we're right next door to the very funky HSBC building. So that's HSBC's head office now. They've moved from London to Birmingham.
That's right.
Right.
That's
And
fantastic.
they're still coming up. They're still
Grant,
coming
is
up.
Can you see the brand new tower from where you are? There's a new building, isn't there?
That's that one.
Yeah, that's it. Now, this is
Yeah.
the funniest thing. I had to drive into Birmingham on Tuesday to have my jab, and I've never because I haven't seen that tower before. I haven't been into Birmingham for a year. How weird is that?
There's
And
two,
I haven't
aren't there?
seen it.
That new one's just been done at the end of Broad Street, and then that
Yeah.
big one, they're throwing that one up really quickly.
That was it. And I was driving into Birmingham. I thought, what the hell is that? Because I've never seen it. And that's. I think there's a lot of people. They mentioned this about London as well. Somebody said that because everybody's been away from it for so long, when they come back a year later, there's going to be new buildings because obviously the building work's carried on.
BT's doing the same. I think we're building a new building in Birmingham and a new one in London as well. New head office in London. So there's obviously still money about.
Oh, obviously, yeah. There's a lot of money about. Definitely. Anyway, people, I don't know what we're talking about today. It's Friday. It's we've had I've had just that hectic week. I'm not happy about the nurses.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling, Matt? We're talking about nurses. How's the
better today? I am
Good,
better today, but wow, that was I had the aches this morning at about 4 a.m. I was woken up then. Tina's had nothing.
It appears to be quite common. I know lots of people now have said the same thing as you. Quite common, almost like a mild strain of it.
Just really aching all over. And then on Wednesday when we did the show for the launch, in the middle when we had that 2-hour break, it was like I was shaking. I literally was shaking from being so cold. Really bizarre. So I mean, it's still a good thing to have, but there's some people who are having adverse effects as well. So, but I'm all right.
How many fingers? How many fingers you got?
I've got the usual 8. On one hand. It's fine. I'm all right.
I said to the wife, and I know what you're going to say, Matt.
This sounds like a joke. Okay.
Yeah, my wife's a police officer. Yeah, I like to.
Hey, there we go. Hang on, have we
I
got
was gonna say,
Oh, we're going to that. There, the wife's police.
She went down anyway to the doctor's something first. And I said, why she's down there, ask them where your jab is, because we're over 50. She won't be like saying that. We're over 50. She's in the front line. Half the team have had it, and half the team haven't. And she's coming in contact with different officers every day because she works in CID. And I'm thinking, yes, of course I'm thinking about her in the front line, but I'm also thinking about me. She comes home, mixing it with me. I want the jab.
It's very true. I mean, this is the reason why I got it. I didn't get it illegally, but it was to do with school. So that's just the way it is. So,
well, I'm listening to you all the time, Matt. I'm going to ring up I'm going to walk down town in a bit and just go past the surgery. You got any spare ones?
Yeah, just say that. Literally, when we went into Birmingham, they had. I mean, there was the Oxford. We had the Oxford one, so that they were able to store them, but they still have to use them. But they had loads. There was hardly anybody going in.
Oh, that's
interesting. So you had the Oxford one then. So that's interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had the Oxford. Now, the last thing the nurse said as I got out the chair was, "You're all right with the Oxford. You don't get many side effects with that." No. Obviously not. So it was, but it was. You couldn't feel it. I can tell you that. If anybody's worried about needles, you can't feel it at all. It's so fine. It's unbelievable.
It's in your eyes, and it goes in your eye.
No.
No.
I don't want to know about that. Thank you. But why are the nurses not getting a pay increase? I know money's tight.
You know what? I've got to be really careful what I say. My sister's a nurse.
Sure.
And I utterly appreciate everything they've done.
Yeah.
But I just wonder how big our apple tree is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is really hard. It's a harsh thing to say. If there's a queue of people getting pay rises, they should be right at the top of it. Absolutely right at the top of it. But I just wonder when we can open the doors for that queue. I just don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but it's not as black and white as they should get.
And I've got a lot of friends who are nurses and obviously doctors, and they are doing, as you say, a great job. But they're the only people who've had a pay rise. So I know it's not a lot, and trust me, and appreciate from the world we're in right now, they should be, as you say, at the top of the queue. They've had a 1% pay rise, but no one else in the public sector has been given anything because they've said they've had to put a freeze on it. Now that, to me, is a little bit of kick in the teeth, and I am going to be controversial here, when you're giving so much money out in furlough to people that possibly won't have jobs to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that fully.
It's like, because, Grant, you employ people, you know, obviously you haven't furloughed them, but I mean, I don't think you have, but even so, you just still expect, you still communicate to them, aren't you? Whether they got a job, whether they haven't got a job, and all the rest of it. There's so many people, I believe, are just sitting there, being furloughed, being paid, and if I've got a job at the end of it, great, and if I haven't, well, who cares, type thing. Not so who cares, but I'm being paid is what my reference is, and there's so many people who are being now given another 6 months. Where is this money tree? Where is it?
Yeah.
I mean, we were speaking about quantitative easing. Was it last week, Darren, about printing money?
Yeah, it was me about trying to understand just how this whole economy thing works, because it just feels so fake, doesn't it, that we borrow money from other countries, and it just doesn't make sense. The whole economic survival of the world really doesn't make a great deal of sense to me, and I just love someone to be able to explain it in a dummy's guide for economics.
Yeah, that's true.
Grant's normally quite good for this, but the Standards and Poor, where do we sit with that at the moment? Because obviously, isn't that what we guide ourselves with as to what rating we are as a I mean, because is anyone talking about that right now? Because everyone's in the same boat, aren't they?
Well, the reason is I actually investigated this because of what Darren raised, so I rang up I didn't ring. I rang up. Well, I looked into the Bank of England, because we actually borrow. All this borrowing from the government is borrowed from ourselves. They're borrowing it from the Bank of England. They're not going overseas for it because the interest rates are so low. And the Bank of England, yes, they do print the money if they've got to lend out more. So that actually does happen. But it is borrowed as a set rate from the Bank of England. So we are, as a government, are borrowing it from ourselves.
So it's funny money. It's funny. It's not real. It's funny money. So
I think
that's what I mean. Absolutely, that's what I mean. It's funny money, and I don't get it when you look at like rich nations. Why are they rich? What makes them rich? I just don't really get it. What? You print your own money. Go out and get a printer. HP doing really cheap now.
I feel like Grant wants to say something about this. Grant.
Go on, Grant.
Yeah, well, it's all about, you can only do it so much before you devalue your currency, don't you? And that's what quantitative easing is all about. It basically means that every time they do that, the money that's in your bank is worth less. The money that you earn is worth less, and that's why we have inflation. Inflation, is all about the way that the value of our money gets less, and the products and services that we buy is more. Yeah. But getting back to the nurses, which is related to this, I think anybody that would look at it from a humanitarian perspective would never argue. I mean, I've always been a big advocate for teachers as well. I think teachers should be paid a lot more.
Yeah.
But then again, you could argue that for every different industry. There's loads, the fire service, the police. These are people that we all respect and rely on. But getting back to the economics of it, since the pandemic, the amount of people that have actually started training in the medical profession and in nursing has increased. I think it was 40%, I heard the other day. So the plain economics of it are that the fact that nurses get low salary is not putting them off applying to become a nurse, because it's a vocational thing. And much as we would say, right, okay, because of what they do, then they definitely should be paid more and be first in the queue. the truth of it is the government don't really need to do that because they've got a queue of people waiting to become nurses. So it's the same argument with the fire service. You know, that a lot of people say they can, you know, you get the unions with the fire service complain when they don't get a raise and stuff. Well, there's actually a queue of people wanting to become fire, you know, in the fire service.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a job that is vocational, and they don't necessarily do it for the money.
It's the scale as well, though, isn't it, Grant? When you look at someone quoted the other day, I don't know where that quote was, the actual amount of people working for the NHS, and I can't remember. It was a ridiculous. It was in the millions.
It's the biggest company in Europe, the NHS.
Yeah.
It's the biggest company, biggest employer in Europe.
Yeah. So
bonkers. And you know, you put your economic head on and you say, right, we've got a country here that's quite likely to go bankrupt if we don't if we're not careful with the amount that we're borrowing. And then we've got, you know, the people that are paid by the country. You know, what we pay them influences the debt of the country. And right now, much as it would be a brilliant PR campaign for the government, I'm sure, to say, right, all the nurses are getting a raise, and I don't think anybody would argue with it. You can't see anybody going, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Can you imagine that?
Yeah,
but they've actually taken, I imagine that would have been a really tough decision to not give them a raise, because if anybody deserves it, it's them, isn't it?
Well, you do worry that they don't make the right decisions when it comes to that type of thing, though. You think that when you look at the school meals and how they messed that up, if I was a politician and I had a bit of spare cash in the back of the settee, as he keeps finding, and I want to get in next time, then I think I'll be going, okay, give kids free school meals. And don't get me wrong, I agree for doing it for the right reasons. But if I was a politician, because they don't, give them free school meals and give nurses a big pay hike. Stuff doctors, give it to the nurses, give it to the lower ranks, and I'll be really clever. And it's I find it bemusing that they're not using the political power, as in, you know, to win people over. It's incredible, really. They're making probably what is the right decision from an economic point of view, but not the right decision from a, you know, looking good point of view, which is unusual for a politician.
But I mean, look how much money they've spent, though, over the last 12 months through stuff that, let's face it, 12 months ago, if we'd have had the discussion on here saying, you know, how's this going to pan out, and how's the government going to actually treat the people that have been furloughed, or, you know, before we let's face it, this time last year we were all looking up in the dictionary, what does furlough mean? You know, now it's like, you know, it's in our everyday vocabulary. The way that they have supported the people in employment that haven't been able to work is extraordinary. I mean, it's phenomenal, really, that what they've done. And I can't imagine any of us a year ago having a chat thinking that they would do it for this long. I, for one, couldn't imagine how they can afford it. I still don't know how they've afforded it. Was it 250 billion that they've spent? 250 billion.
One of our suppliers for the events we do in Gloucestershire is Italian, and he was saying back home they got £100. That was it. £100 subsidy from the government.
Well, I think they were already nearly bust, though, weren't they, Italy?
Yeah. But the point is what you said earlier. How close are we to the win? To the sale, to becoming bust? You know, we cannot continue, because most people thought, like, you know, and I do talk to people who have been working all the way through this and got people on furlough, and they're saying, you know what, there's people we were going to get rid of anyway. And is that a case of, like, one or two are sitting there going, well, yeah, we're getting paid for them, so we'll keep them on? Is that false economy? I'm not saying
we were due a recession, though, and so, you know, I remember October last year, I wrote a blog about this because I was kind of following the flow of the economy, and loads of economists were predicting a recession before we'd heard of, you know, COVID or anything. You know, the economy goes like this. It ebbs and flows. The recession that we had, the double dip that we're in right now, is as a result of a pandemic, but it was coming anyway. So we were going to be seeing a downturn. And so it does make you wonder whether the furlough has actually sustained jobs that would have gone anyway, because we were going to hit a recession. And I mean, guys, all of us will remember vividly the last recession, you know, the big one of 2008 to sort of 2000. It seemed to go on forever, that recession. And you know, the hardship and the downturn that we saw caused loads of unemployment and jobs. And well, in this recession, we're obviously about to see when furlough ends what we're really left with.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we've propped up those jobs with a furlough scheme that the reason for which was the pandemic. Some of those would have been gone by now because we'd be in a recession anyway. If there hadn't been a pandemic, I mean, you know, and so we've got this kind of situation where we don't really know whether the jobs are going to go because they were furloughed or whether they would have gone anyway.
And what is positive to see, and I'm sure one or two of us have seen this, there's a lot more startups coming into the fore. There's a lot more people, and because this is where I'm trying to not label everyone, who are looking at it and going, well, do you know what? I know that I'm not going to be at the end of it, and I'll take the redundancy, or I'll take whatever package you're offering, and I'll set up on my own. And I've seen more and more businesses doing that at the moment, or more people coming to set up their own businesses. So it's a great time at the moment. Although it's a difficult time, it's a great time to do something you've always thought about doing, you always dreamed about doing, and just going up, without just pushing down what you do. You offer an opportunity to work with partnerships, so does Matt. You know, you've got all this going on. There's opportunities coming out from that the woodworks. Really. There's
always loads more startups in the recession because people get made redundant. And for some people that have always wanted to start their own business, it's the thing that gives them the opportunity to do it because they get a little bit of money from their redundancy, you know, and then they get that little push. You know, like most people, if it wasn't for that start a business, they would have always just taken the paycheck and always what I call they live on someday I'll start that business when XYZ happens. And you know, and that's why what's been awesome during the lockdown is that, you know, and I can think about this from some of my partners who were employed and their Blam business, running a digital marketing agency, was like their side gig.
Yeah.
When the lockdown happened and they were furloughed, it gave them the momentum and the incentive to actually go full time on their business and then keep their job into touch, which is brilliant because that wouldn't have happened if, you know, they'd probably just gone along for even longer as having a sign gig and not having the, you know, the sort of the courage to take the plunge.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
It's gonna, I think, as ever with these type of things, it's gonna be, we have to watch what happens now over the next few months and then see the opportunities that arise for people and help people. It's important. I mean, you know, Grant and myself in that type of industry, and well, Mark as well, I suppose. It's we've got to give as much support as we can, and so it's something that we. You know, our viewer figures today are great for some reason. It's I don't know.
But what I like about it is we're absolutely there for you, Darren. Yeah, when you leave BT,
when you leave BT and you're off on your scooter.
Oh dear me. Well, anyway, talk about opportunity, but we know that the bookings are 200% up. So not our bookings, as in holiday bookings in the UK are 200% up. And I know some of these from figures from obviously people that we work with, and it's just that we're expecting a huge influx, which we expected last summer, but I think even this summer. So there is opportunity. There'll be opportunity in retail. There'll be opportunity in small little businesses that sell trinkets and all the little, we call grockle ware that people come and buy and all that sort of good stuff. And there'll be the pubs, hopefully, will get a massive boost, providing they're savvy and jump on and take every opportunity they can and have managed to survive. So, yeah, loads of opportunity.
That's brilliant. No, it's...
be positive.
Be positive is the most important thing. Okay, we're running into the last few minutes of the show. So I just want to talk about what we did on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday, Darren?
It was Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday? No. We did our Social Commands space thing, space events. I should know the name of it really. And I've got to say, we were on for 5 hours. I was transmitting for, which was ridiculous. And that was because there was a few technical issues. Not us, it was SpaceX. Someone drove a truck, right? They shut everything down and someone drove a truck onto the pad, and sat the car next door to the rocket.
Great security. What security have they got?
I know, it's just ridiculous. Then the
Was
police
it a
car
member of
turned up.
staff? I didn't hear about that.
No. This was way early on. This was it happened before, actually. On the last launch, there was a car driving along the road because it's right next door to a road, and it's not like NASA, which has got a massive thing all the way around it. This is just a piece of land, and so we were sat there, and everything was on hold for 50 minutes while they got this guy off. Anyway, then there was a failed launch, and then we all went away and came back, and this was I just left the stream running. Anyway, for the 5 hours, we had 4,960 viewers over the 5 hours, which was just unbelievable. I mean, Darren came on for when we came back, and you were flicking through the comments, weren't you, Darren?
Yeah,
the
I
amount
can
of
catch up
people,
with them too many comments. Yeah.
the amount of people, it was the most amazing thing I've ever done. And
Nothing to do with the launch. It was just because me, Matt, and Pete Schaefer.
That's it, and Pete Schaefer was on. It was just us three. I'm not going to show the launch again because I think most people have seen that. But there's a great video that's going around, and it just shows you how people are. And this is the SpaceX staff who are on a bit of land, which is just away about 2 kilometers away from the launch site, and obviously the landing site. And all this is it's just a phone footage, but it's the reaction of the staff and how enthusiastic they are about this, because they live, breathe, and everything about this project, and it is so vitally important to us as mankind and all that. We could go into speak of that for hours, but I just want to show you this because it's just beautiful. Anyway, if you didn't know, it did land. But then 15 minutes later, after we stopped broadcasting, it blew up. So I don't know if anybody saw that. But
why did that happen, Matt? I wanted to ask you because I thought you're going to know what happened.
There was a methane leak on the rocket, and because they can't go close to it because it has to cool down. And there was a fire. It was quite an intense fire, and the fire hoses were spraying on, but they just couldn't put this methane fire out. And literally, when it went pop, it virtually took off again, which was.
I saw it. Yeah, I posted it on YouTube.
That's right. Yeah, it was.
You can imagine it, can't you? When it's got people in it, they'll be like, "Right, you've got 15 minutes. Get out quick." It's like.
Yes. No, I don't think it's like that. I mean, it was a hard landing as it was. So this is, as I say, this is some staff footage, and there's a lot of staff there, and it's just the reaction is just great. You can hear the audio on that, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, baby. Come on. Now. Come on. Yeah.
So weird. You don't have to guess what nation it is there.
Very excited people. Very excited. Very, very. Just wonderful. And that's because they can't see it yet because the cloud's still there. Then they cheer again when the clouds. They are Americans, obviously. There you go.
This is like being at a Birmingham City football match. That is exactly the same at St Andrews.
It was really, and to be honest, the SpaceX footage was great, but that just really then felt, gave us the feeling of that and how brilliant this was. We should be getting another one. They're doing SN11 in 2 weeks' time. I'm just looking at the reports now.
Well, I have to say, it wasn't my thing, and space isn't my thing, but it was. It was quite exciting to watch, and I did, it was a bit goosebumpy when it actually managed to land, but it does look so ridiculously weird, doesn't it?
It is stupid.
So futuristic.
Mind-blowing. Because you did jump on the stream, didn't you, Grant, for a bit? But obviously you weren't there for the 5 hours.
Well, when the first one failed, they sort of started, didn't they, and then stopped. I thought, this is going to be a bit of a wait.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, I just left the stream running and went down and had tea, watched some television, then came back, and everybody who we left was still there, was connected to the stream.
And they lived like miles away from the place as well. Why on earth? Are they watching
there
the
was
UK
a guy.
stream?
There was a guy sat in his garden. He's about 4 miles away from the launch, and he was watching us on his stream and waiting for it to take off, and he could see it over there. And I thought, this is just insane. We had Australia, with New Mexico, America, obviously a few places.
Lots of
in
Spanish
Europe.
people that Matt managed to insult.
There was to insult. Yeah. They were obviously typing in their own language and putting comments up, and of course I don't speak Spanish. But then, I've never really felt this before. But the comments, there was people who were in there who were answering questions about space and the stuff we couldn't answer. And then somebody came on and said, "Oh, I can translate Spanish," and then he was translating the comments. Anyway. It was great, and we'll give a full notification when the next one's coming up because it was just great. So that is about it for the end of the show. What are we doing for the weekend? Grant, what are you doing for the weekend? Brilliant. We're nearly there. We're nearly at a point where we can do something else.
I can't think that far ahead. I've had a bit of a week.
It has been an insane week. Mark, what are you doing this weekend? Anything?
Painting doors, I think. Finally got to get round.
That's Grant's favourite thing. He loves painting. Fair enough. Darren, you on your gliders or?
Well, no, lots of easy glide preparation for the new sites, but also Tracy's about any second now to go off and have her vaccination. So I dare say I'll be daddy home care while she feels some of the pain you may have felt. So
I don't really envy her at all. It was rough. Anyway, more usual stuff. I've got obviously the party tonight, the house party at 7. We've got the new show at 10 o'clock, flashback as well. Tomorrow night, I'm doing a cocktail party, Zoom cocktail party, which we've got to make our own cocktails. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. It's been fabulous as ever. Grant, it just looks great. That backdrop, mate, you've nailed that with that. It looks brilliant.
Yeah.
This is what you need to use all the time. So that's it. We will see you on Monday. See you, everybody.
Cheers all. Bye.